안녕하십니까. 글로벌 모니터 안근모입니다. 미국 연방공개시장위원회 FOMC가 예상대로 금리를 4.25 내지 4.50%로 동결했습니다. 작년 9월부터 금리를 내리기 시작한 뒤로 네 번째 회의에서 금리 인하 행진을 중단했습니다. 제롬 파월 미 연준 의장은 기자회견에서 FOMC의 광범위한 느낌은 정책 기조를 조정하는 데 서두를 필요가 없다는 것이다 라고 말했습니다. 이날 성명서에서 FOMC 위원들은 인플레이션이 2% 목표를 향해 진전을 이뤘다라고 했던 기존 평가 문구를 삭제했습니다. 대신에 인플레이션이 여전히 좀 높아진 상태라고만 밝혔습니다. 이 대목 때문에 금리가 급등하고 주가가 훅 밀리는 등 시장이 한때 요동을 쳤죠. 이에 대해서 파월 의장은 약간의 문구 정리를 한 것일 뿐이라고 그 의미를 평가절하했습니다. 그러면서 파월 의장은 인플레이션에서 계속해서 진전을 이룰 것이라는 게 우리의 전망이라고 밝혔습니다. FOMC 성명서는 노동시장의 모멘텀에 대해서도 약간 더 낙관적인 시각을 내비쳤습니다. 노동시장 환경이 누그러졌다거나 실업률이 올라갔다는 부정적인 기존 평가는 삭제했습니다. 대신에 실업률이 낮은 레벨에서 안정화했다거나 노동시장 환경은 견조하게 유지됐다라는 평가로 업데이트했습니다. 파월 의장은 관세와 이민 등 인플레이션을 유발할 수 있는 트럼프 행정부의 정책에 대해서는 위원회가 지금 관망하면서 기다리는 모드에 있다며 느긋한 입장을 피력했습니다. 연준이 그 영향을 분석하기 위해서는 정책이 먼저 뚜렷해져야 한다고 파월 의장은 설명했습니다. 트럼프 대통령이 당장 금리를 내리라고 한 데 대해서 파월 의장은 대통령 발언에 코멘트하는 것은 적절하지 않다면서 답변을 회피했습니다. 파월 의장 기자회견 주요 장면을 함께 보시겠습니다.
Recent indicators suggest that economic activity has continued to expand at a solid pace. The labor market is not a source of significant inflationary pressures. Inflation has eased significantly over the past 2 years, but remains somewhat elevated relative to our 2% longer-run goal. We see the risks to achieving our employment and inflation goals as being roughly in balance, and we are attentive to the risks on both sides of our mandate. Over the course of our 3 previous meetings, we lowered our policy rate by a full percentage point from its peak. That recalibration of our policy stance was appropriate in light of the progress on inflation and the rebalancing in the labor market. With our policy stance significantly less restrictive than it had been, and the economy remaining strong, we do not need to be in a hurry to adjust our policy stance. At today's meeting, the committee decided to maintain the target range for the federal funds rate at 4.25% to 4.5%. We're not on any preset course.
Colby Smith with the New York Times. Chair Powell, how should we interpret the removal of the line from the statement that inflation has made progress towards the 2% goal? Is that no longer the case?
No. So let me look. If you just look at the first paragraph, we did a little bit of language cleanup there. We took out a reference to since earlier in the year as it related to the labor market. And we just chose to shorten that sentence. Again, I mean, if you look at the sort of intermeeting data, it was good, and there was another inflation reading, I guess, just before the December meeting. So we've got two good readings in a row that are consistent with 2% inflation. Again, we're not going to overinterpret too good or too bad readings, but this was not meant to send a signal. Other than this, you can take away from all of this that we remain committed to achieving our 2% inflation goal sustainably.
Katerina Saraiva, Bloomberg News. Last month, you talked about a future rate cut as being pretty, significantly predicated on more progress in inflation. With the characterization of the labor market in the statement today, would you say that that's even more so the case now?
I'd say it's the same. We want to see, further progress on inflation. And, the story's there. We're just going to have to see the data. At the end of the day, it comes down to 12-month inflation because that takes out the seasonality issues that may exist. And, we're just going to need to see that. we think we see the pathway for that to happen. One example, a key example, is that you now do see owner's equivalent rent and housing services, the way it's calculated for PCE. You see that coming down pretty steadily now, and that's the place where most of the remaining gap is. In addition, a big part of the overrun, as you will know, was from non-market services, which don't tend to send much signal. So you can look through all that and think, okay, that then we seem to be set up for further progress. But being seemed to set up for it is one thing, having it is another. So we're going to want to see further progress on inflation.